in the war, they thought that they have to take action. Take action. I did that. Take action. They had to take action to protect human rights. To protect human rights. To defend human rights. And so they thought that every human being has the right to speak their mind. To speak about what they think. And that any violation of human rights, should be punished, and that according to Universal Declaration of Human Rights, any discrimination based on gender, religion, ethnic origin, race, should not be allowed. That any torture, mistreatment, that we should take action in order to avoid torture and mistreatment. And in order to avoid that, in order to avoid inequality, we should speak out or stand up to our rights. Okay? So you must have read the articles about human rights. Yes?
No, sorry.
Why not?
Because I was typing today after my classes, and there was like страница не найдена.
Page not found. Okay. Why not?
I don't know. I've tried twice.
Well, have you read them?
The first one, yes, but the last...
Second one?
Second one I watched, but the last one I started. I don't know.
But not finished. Okay. Anita, have you watched the video?
Yes.
Martin Luther King? Okay. That's good. At least you watched the video. So what do you think?
About Martin Luther King, it's a very old video.
Well, it is old. It's I think it was filmed in 1963.
Yes, 1963.
His speech impressed me. It was really powerful, and I think that America and United States is still struggling with this racial perception of discrimination. But it's better than it was in the past, but it still has problems.
Yes, sure. There's still some issues. Okay.
I liked his way of speaking. Martin Luther King's, his powerful, confident, and influential speech for the American people, and he is also like Afro-American.
Yes, sure. He's a Black American.
And I've noticed that the people, mostly they were Afro-Americans there when I was watching the video, and it was I've reminded that place where this video was taking place.
Reminded? Maybe the place reminded you of something?
Yes, the place reminded me. This place in Washington, and
the monument?
Yes,
Abraham Lincoln monument, yeah.
Monument. And like lake, not lake.
Yes, I forgot about the name of that place, but it's a very popular place. Yes, in Washington. I forgot. Okay, so what's surprising about that march? It was a peaceful march. Dr. Martin Luther King, he was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize for peaceful demonstrations, and approximately 100,000 people came took part in the march. So what's surprising is that at that time there was no cell phone, there was no internet. How did they communicate to organize all these things? How did they okay, so for example, in Washington at this place at this hour, maybe they just spread the leaflets. Yes. So it's interesting that even now today with all this communication technology, it's hard to organize people, and at that time it's really interesting. Okay, so my main question was, do you think Martin Luther King's dreams came true?
It came true step by step, I think.
You think it came true?
Not. I can't say it's coming.
It's coming.
Step by step.
Okay, so you think that so the equality between black and white Americans is on the way. So we haven't achieved it, but it's coming. Okay.
It's coming.
Well, if you follow the current affairs, so you must have heard about Ferguson in America.
Yeah, well, demonstrations of Black Americans, but not only Black Americans.
Yes.
Also.
So white police officers shot a black American.
Yes.
Supposedly a criminal. Supposedly.
Yes.
Well, a suspect. Okay, so there are protests everywhere, but there are two opinions.
In England, in London.
Yeah.
There is a demonstration.
But it's controversial because some people think, oh, those are lazy black Americans who don't want to work, but they think that the system, the state owes them something. Because, sometimes when you experience this discrimination, when you're a minority, later on, when the equality is achieved, you think that you have this complex, inferiority complex, that you've been a minority, now the system has to give you. Okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes, so there are two sides to this story. Okay. Anita, do you think that Martin Luther King's dream came true?
I think it's coming. It is coming true, and it's much better. The situation of Black Americans is much better nowadays than it was before, and but nevertheless, people know that there is equality between Black and white Americans. They even they even have in mind that
Oppress, discriminate.
Yes, they even discriminate them in life. I think not formally maybe, but informally.
Informally, okay. So informally, for example, you mean if an employer wants to hire someone, so they interview Black American and White American, you think they would give a preference to White American?
When hiding for a good position, they prefer white Americans.
For example, Barack Obama, the president of the United States. Well,
he's
Black American. But
yes, he's like an exception.
And he's half white.
Maybe with the example of Barack Obama, they wanted to show that there is equality in the United States.
I watched a lot of videos about racial discrimination. And for example, in modeling business. Modeling business. So I saw statistics where only 6% of models are black girls, 6%, and 6% are Asian girls, and the rest, 88% are white European girls. So it shows that the racial discrimination is still exists.
Well, maybe it's also about preference. Like, well, as far as I know, for example, Black Americans, they are more keen on working on farms, and white Americans prefer to work in big cities.
Yes.
Well, I guess it's
I think it's a stereotype.
Well, yeah, it might be a stereotype, but I just mean that, I don't know, for example, in Washington, I know my friends who have visited Washington, they say that Black Americans prefer to work outside the country, outside the city, and white Americans prefer to work in the city. But we don't know if it's because of discrimination. I don't think that if a Black American would want to live in a city, someone would hinder his desire. Okay, so we came to a conclusion that Martin Luther King's dreams for equality between Black Americans and white Americans are coming true. Okay?
Yes.
But there is a long way to go, you think?
But not so long, but maybe 20 years.
But I think it's several generations have passed, or I don't know how to explain it.
Okay, the several generations should grow before it changes. Okay, that makes
Because there are
sense.
some people, Black American people, who saw the racial discrimination. Read for example, on the beach there was a sign for white people only, or in some stores there were sign for white people. So they saw it. Maybe they said it to their kids, children. So I think it's about generations.
Yes. As for this segregation, do you know the story of Rosa Parks?
No.
Rosa Parks, I think she's from Tennessee. Anyway, so in 60s, when there was a segregation and white people, white Americans, they only took first seats in the bus, and Black Americans the back seats. And she sat at the front seat.
And she was black.
She was black, yeah. And the driver said, you have to move back. And she said, no, I'm too tired. I don't want to move back. I've worked too much. And the driver called the police, and the police officer arrested her for breaking the law. It was it was a law. Like, she broke the law. Well, we're not talking about the bad, if the law was bad or good, but she broke the law. Break law. So she broke the law. That's why I think she was fined. Fined? She had to pay money. Fine? Penalty? Okay. But then other Black Americans, they supported her. They showed solidarity, and they refused to take buses. And that's why the owner of this bus system, they had to abolish this law, this discriminating people. Yeah, they had to get rid of this law, and because they were their revenue, their income was getting lower because Black Americans refused to take buses. That's how they abolished this law and removed the discrimination. So it's about people taking actions. It's not here, but standing up to their rights. So people have to stand up to their rights in order to make laws more better. Okay, so this is a very good word. Stand up to, or speak out, speak your mind. Okay, so that's a good story about protecting or defending your own rights, opposing the system. You know, oppose the system. Yeah.
Mistreatment.
Well, mistreatment, плохое обращение. Плохое обращение. Treat is обращаться к человеку. Treatment, mistreatment. Now, since today is the Universal Human Rights Day. I would like...
Human Rights Declaration was signed in 1948.
Yes. And Eleanor Roosevelt took a great part in working towards this declaration. But the declaration was not legally binding. Do you know legally binding? So the document was not obligatory for states, for countries to follow it. There is a document. A lot of countries ratified it, but it's not legally binding. So the countries who have signed it don't have to follow the declaration because it doesn't have this legal obligation. Okay, so it's just a document. Okay, so now let's. It's so dark in here. Okay. Anything new that you learned?
Yes.
Okay. For example?
About declaration, it doesn't have the power of law.
The force of law.
Force of law. Say that it's just the words on the paper. It's just now.
But why do you think those are words? Everyone agrees that every human being deserves a dignity, deserves a dignified life, and should not be mistreated, should not be tortured. You know, torture, right? But why is it difficult to respect those rights? Why do you think there is still injustice in this world? Why there are still human rights violations?
What question?
Because this law isn't so strong to be in action.
It's all about people.
In the United Nations, they are trying to control this situation in the whole world, but it is trying. But anyway, as we see in the video, there are many people who suffering from human rights. Yes.
Because of the violation of human rights.
Yes, because of some violation of human rights.
Good, you wanted to say something? That it's people who are to blame for that?
Because some people want to have power before other people. So it's like instinct, or I don't know.
Natural instinct.
Natural instinct, yes.
To hold power over people.
Yeah.
Those who are in power. Yeah. Okay. So do you think those who violate the human rights? Okay. So the video said that every human being, no matter whose nationality, what nationality he belongs to, is entitled to human rights. You know, entitled.
I'm not sure.
Yes, has the basic right. So, you know, sense of entitlement. So, for example, you're from Aktau, and some people in Aktau think that they are entitled to benefits from oil because they live in an oil-rich region. For example, they're entitled to it. They think they have this natural right to this. Okay, so. Or, for example, we as women might think that we are entitled to special care, or maybe, just an example, okay. Or maybe men, they're entitled to something, or children, they're entitled to basic care because they're children and they can't stand up to their rights. Okay. Okay. So I think now you have more or less good idea about human rights. Yes. Okay. So now you are ready to ask. To answer some of the questions concerning human rights. Okay. What human rights do you know?
To have freedom.
To have freedom.
Yes.
One second. Yeah, to have freedom. Yes, you have the right to liberty, but it might be restricted if you break the law. If you break the law, you might be jailed or get imprisoned.
When you were born,
you are entitled to liberty.
To have liberty, to have medical care, to have education.
Basic education, basic health care.
Basic health care, and what else?
What else? Right to life.
To work.
Yes.
To speak out.
Just speak your mind.
To speak your mind.
Which means speak honestly about what you think. Anita?
I also want to say to be educated, to do all the things that we are doing now.
Yeah. To be free from any kind of discrimination, mistreatment, torture, to protect your dignity. Okay. 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 So next question. What human rights are most important to you? That's a difficult question.
Most important?
They're all are important.
Yes.
I can choose one. I can't choose.
Maybe the most important is freedom.
You think the most
have
important
a right
is
to live?
Yes.
You know, there was a competition on Facebook organized by Freedom House, and the competition was about writing a post on the most important human rights for you. And I said freedom of speech and freedom of consciousness. You know, consciousness, совесть, freedom of consciousness, свобода совести, which means freedom of religion. So you can choose what you want to believe in. Okay. So, do you feel that you have all the human rights you need?
Yes.
I say not.
You think yes, you think no. Okay, so why yes? Or maybe you are ready, why not?
Because by the Declaration of Human Rights we have a freedom of speech. But even in the formality in the documents we have such line maybe that we have freedom of speech, but anyway, for example, we cannot tell anything we want.
You cannot speak your mind.
Yes, speak our mind.
Or speak out.
Yes, because we are expected to be
submissive. Submissive? Покорный?
Yes.
Submissive. Especially women, Eastern women are expected to be submissive. In other words, submission, submissive. Okay.
Yes.
Don't be submissive.
To be submissive, and even if we want to tell, to speak out about the politics, about the situation in our maybe in the policy, we can speak out, but afterwards we will be blamed. Yes.
Punished
Yes, we will be punished by some
for speaking your mind.
authorities. Yes, by the authorities. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Oh.
Maybe not other people, not the population of the country will know about it, but secretly.
Okay.
It will be punished.
I got you. Thanks for speaking your mind.
Personally,
I got it. It's time for you to speak out.
I haven't faced
Any discrimination?
yes, a little bit, but I could protect my human rights.
You can stand up to your rights.
Yes,
you stood up to your rights.
Yes, I haven't faced with it, but yes, I agree with her because, for example, in Kazakhstan we see a lot of situations. For example, in 2011 in Zhanaozen there was a demonstration, and I heard that more than 100 people were killed, and nobody even know where they are.
Were shot.
Well,
officially 16 people.
It's officially. But there are more than 100 people who just lost, and their family, their relatives, they don't even know if they are alive or if they are dead. I think it's, I don't know. Yes, I agree with her, but personally I haven't faced with this issue.
So you haven't faced with the violation of your rights?
Yes.
So you are doing okay.
Yeah.
Right? So you personally haven't experienced any violations of your rights?
No.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so do you think there is a connection between human rights, democracy, and economic development with high standards of life? Do you think it's, there is a correlation?
Democracy,
Human rights, and high standards of living, a good life, a quality of life.
I say yes, it is.
the connection, I think the connection between democracy and human rights, because in democracy, I'm not sure because I'm not an expert, but I think democracy means that you are free to speak out, you are free to stand up to your rights. And yes, it.
Okay, Aida?
And economic
development, prosperity.
Yes, high standards of living. It was like in India, yes, in the video, like people there were girls who were sitting and just like they didn't have they are like they are not educated, and
they are deprived of basic education.
Yes, they are deprived of basic education, and if the country has a high living standard and economic development, it means that the population of that country has a good level of education. Not good level, but in general, education and prosperous life.
Prosperity.
Yes,
prosperous life, yes, you're right.
Prosperous life, and not needing anything for their life.
There is a good word, there's a good expression, I like this expression. Equal opportunities.
Yes,
Equal opportunities. So every human being should have equal opportunities. But often in life, some people are more equal than others. So you might be given a preference for anything, for maybe having a higher income, for your nationality, race, sex, maybe if you're a man. But it's important that all human beings have equal opportunity, no matter what. Okay, have you finished?
Yes.
Thank you. So, how can the world make sure human rights are protected? We've talked about the problems. There are many issues, global issues, that need to be addressed. Okay, so in Africa, people don't have access to clean water. They don't have access to food, shelter. They don't have access to internet. Right? In India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, girls get easily raped. Even young girls.
India.
Yeah, in India. Yeah, it's almost a norm.
Yes, when I watched the video, and I think Delhi, it takes the first place in raping.
I'm not sure about the statistics. I know that in some African countries, it's almost a norm to be raped for a young girl.
In India, and people think that it's normal. They don't think that it's. I don't know. It's really. I was shocked when I heard about this.
So it's a reality. It's a reality. So the question was, how can the world, international community, make sure that human rights are respected, that everyone has human dignity and basic human rights?
To visit the country, maybe to see how people live, if they are educated, if they have a medical treatment or healthcare, if they are free to speak out. Because some people don't even know what human right is.
Yeah. So education.
Education, yes.
Okay, I get that. How can the world, international community, make sure that human rights are respected?
Research.
Research.
Yes, like statistics maybe. But I think nowadays they have their observers in such countries, the United Nations observers, who are controlling